May we request Sheikh Abdulaziz Aminuddin to lead us in the invocation, and please remain standing for the singing of the national anthem and the Bangsamoro hymn.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Amin. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammad. Allahumma aftah lana abwabal khairi wa abwaban ni'mah. Allahumma ja'al ijtima'ana hadha ijtima'an mubarakan ya rabbal alamin. Allahumma arinal haqqa haqqa warzuqna ittiba'ah wa arinal batila batila warzuqna ijtinabah ya rabbal alamin. Allahumma taqabbal minna fa innaka antas sami'ud du'a. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang magiliw, telas ng sinakanan, alam ng puso, sa dikit mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyag ka ng magiting, sa mandulupin, di ka pasisitin, sa nagatang tutok sa simoy at sa langit mong pagaw, ay hinatang tula, kawin sa pagkayang minamahal. Ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na nag-iindig, ang bituin at araw niya kailan ang ay di magtitindig. Luman ang araw ng walhagit pagsingka, buhay langit sa piling ko. Ang inigaya na pagkay mga aking, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo. Simula noon hanggang ngayon, isa ang naging layon. Magkaisa at magbunglod, karitingan ay marugdod. Tumayo tayo mula sa hamon ng nakaraan, niyapos ang panganib na umanlang. Pinangako sa puso at paniniwala, ang ginhawang para sa kabataan. Bangsamoro ay tagumpay, bunga ng pawis, sugo at buhay. Kapayapaan, katarungan, ay ating nang nakamtan. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, pagpalain Bangsamoro. Bangsamoro, Bangsamoro, lagi kang mamahalin. Walang pipigil sa damdamin, mga pangako'y tutuparin. Habang buhay kami sa'yo'y magpapantay, mananatili sa puso't isipan. Ang kahapon humimlay nga nagbuwis ng buhay, nasa piling na ng may kapal. Bangsamoro ay tagumpay, bunga ng pawis, sugo at buhay. Kapayapaan, katarungan, ay ating nang nakamtan. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, pagpalain
1 minute suspension to pave the way for the assumption of Deputy Speaker Lanang Ali Jr. as presiding officer.
Honorable members of the BTA Parliament, Abbas Ahmad I, Abbas Harun M, Abbas Basit S, Abu Mujib C, Alamia Laisa M, Alauddin Mosbir E, Ali Ibrahim D, Ali Lanang T Jr., Ali Eddie M, Ambuludto Suharto M, Aminuddin Abdulaziz M, Ampatuan Baintan A, Anayatin Susana S, Antaw Muhammad Kelly U, Arnado Mary Ann M, Asnawi Dan S, Babaw Ali Muntaha D, Balindong Pangalian M, Basman Anna Tarhata S, Kandaw Maleha B,
Present.
Dilanggalan Hasemi N, Dumama Alba Shah Ilaiha B, Ibrahim Ahod B, Ismail Suharto S, Estino Matarol M, Gayak Abdullah E, Gera Edward U, Haji Abdullah Halid Maamor M, Hasim Abdullah B, Hasan Hatimil E, Iqbal Muhagir M, Ismail Rasul E, Jajuri Raisa H, Jakilan Muslimin E, Jikiri Al-Bakil D, Kahalan Den Martin A, Karon Faisal G, Lim John Anthony L, Loong Benjamin T, Loong Don Mustafa A, Lorena Jose E, Makakuha Abdurrauf A, Makapaar Abdullah G, Makasalong Marjani S, Makatanong Amrosi E A, Maglangit Tarhata M, Malik Hamid U, Mantawil Bailing S, Mastura Ishaq B, Matalam Jafar Apollo Mikael L, Mawalil Amil Bahar S, Mendoza Froilin T, Midtimbang Michael E, Midtimbang Tawakkal B, Miswari Abdul Karim T, Miswari Nuredda I, Mitmug Rasul Y Jr., Munyos Hussein P, Uranon Suwaib L, Pakasam Ubaida C, Pak Abdul Wahab M, Pangandaman Nabila Margarita P,
Present.
Parcasio Randolph C, Piang Ramon A. Sr., Ramos Jamila D, Salendab Said Z, Salik Ali O, Sangki Ali B, Sema O Maria Serci, Sema Romeo K, Sheikh Said M, Silungan Aida M, Sinulinding Kadel M. Jr., Sulaiman Ali B, Tago Paisalin P, Tan Nabil A, Usman Azfar H, Puto Basir D, Uy Oyod Siti Fahani S, Yakub Muhammad S.
Bismillah wa bihi nasta'in. Assalamualaikum. Mr. Speaker, on the basis of the roll call with 51 members of the parliament physically responded to the call and 3 responded via Zoom. We have MP by Malaya Candao, MP Nabila Margarita Pangandaman, MP Den Martin Kahalan, and on the Zoom. So we have a total of 54 members of the parliament responded, both physical and Zoom.
With the presence of 51,
51.
54,
Uh,
51
physically
physical
and
present and 3
so 54 all in all,
Zoom.
3 in Zoom,
Yes.
51 responded physically. We have a total of 54. Mr.
Total of
Speaker.
54
Therefore, we
MPs.
certify, Mr. Speaker, that there is presence of quorum.
With the certification of the Secretary General for the existence of quorum, the chair declares this session and the BTA Parliament can now transact business. Majority Floor Leader.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. My courtesies to the Speaker, Attorney Pangalian Balindong, our presiding officer, Attorney Lanang Ali Jr., my colleagues in the Parliament, staff, and our other guests. Mr. Speaker, before we proceed, I'm not sure if I have the official order of business, but if this is the correct order of business, Mr. Speaker, I would like to ask that it be amended to include the authorship speech to be delivered in behalf of the government of the day for Cabinet Bill number 29, which is the Electoral Code, under item number 10, unfinished business.
Yes, there is a move to amend the order of business to include item number 8 on the second reading of a particular bill, BTA Parliament Bill number 29,
Yes.
to deliver the authorship speech. It's duly seconded. The same is hereby declared as approved.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are now on item number 6, which is the reading and approval of the journal of the previous session. I move, Mr. Speaker, to dispense with the reading of the said journal.
There is a move to dispense with the reading of the journal of the previous session. It is duly seconded. Therefore, the motion is hereby approved.
I move, Mr. Speaker, that we approve the same journal subject to style.
There is a move to approve the journal of the previous session. It is duly seconded. It is now declared as approved.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are now on item number 7, reference of business, particularly sub-item A, bills on first reading. Mr. Speaker, may I request the Secretary General to read the title, the Parliament Bill number, the title, and the authors of BTA Parliament Bill number 11.
May we request the Secretary General to read the first BTA Parliament Bill for today's session, including the number and the authors.
BTA Parliament Bill number 11 entitled An Act Creating the Ministry of Agrarian Reform, defining its powers and functions, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. Authors, members of the Parliament, Amil Bahar S. Mawalil, Liza M. Alamia, Suharto M. Ambuludto, and Rasul Y. Mitmug Jr. Co-authors, members of the Parliament, Baintan A. Ampatuan, Don Mustafa E. Loong, and Rasul E. Ismail.
Mr. Speaker, this is a private member bill, and we invite members of the Parliament who wish to be co-authors of this proposed measure to fill up the co-authorship request form that is part of the documents given to them and to submit the same to the Secretary General. Mr. Speaker.
Proceed.
Okay, item number 2 is BTA Parliament Bill number 12. May I request, Mr. Speaker, the Secretary General to read the bill number, the title of the bill, and the authors thereof.
The Secretary General so directed.
BTA Parliament Bill number 12 entitled An Act Creating the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, defining its powers and functions and appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. Authors, members of the Parliament, Amil Bahar S. Mawalil, Liza M. Alamia, Suharto M. Ambuludto, and Rasul Y. Mitmug Jr. Co-authors, members of the Parliament, Baintan A. Ampatuan, Don Mustafa E. Loong, and Rasul E. Ismail.
Mr. Speaker, again, this is a private member bill. Those who may wish to be part or co-author the bill, Mr. Speaker, we request them to fill up the co-authorship request form and submit the same to the Secretary General.
You may proceed now, Majority.
Number 3, Mr. Speaker, is BTA Parliament Bill number 13. May I request, Mr. Speaker, that the Secretary General to read Bill number 13, the title and its co-authors and its authors.
The
Sorry, Mr.
Secretariat is so directed.
BTA Parliament Bill number 13 entitled An Act Creating the Ministry of Tourism, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. Authors, members of the Parliament, Amil Bahar S. Mawalil, Liza M. Alamia, Suharto M. Ambuludto, and Rasul Y. Mitmug Jr. Co-authors, members of the Parliament, Baintan A. Ampatuan, Don Mustafa E. Loong, and Rasul E. Ismail.
Okay. Mr. Speaker, this is another private member bill, and we request the members of the Parliament who wish to co-author to fill up the co-authorship form request form and to submit the same to the Secretary General. Mr. Speaker, let's proceed to BTA Parliament Bill number 14. May we request the Secretary General to read the bill number, the title, and the authors of said bill.
The Secretary General so directed.
BTA Parliament Bill number 14 entitled An Act Creating the Ministry of Energy, defining its powers and functions, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. Authors, members of the Parliament, Amil Bahar S. Mawalil, Liza M. Alamia, Suharto M. Ambuludto, and Rasul Y. Mitmug Jr. Co-authors, members of the Parliament, Baintan A. Ampatuan, Don Mustafa E. Loong, and Rasul E. Ismail.
Mr. Speaker, this is a private member bill. We request other members of the Parliament who wish to co-author the said bill to accomplish the co-authorship request form and to submit the same to the Secretary General. Number 5, Mr. Speaker, is BTA Bill number 15. Mr. Speaker, may I request the Secretary General to read the bill number, the title, and the authors of the said bill.
The Secretariat is so directed.
BTA Parliament Bill number 15 entitled An Act Reorganizing the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Agrarian Reform, renaming it to Ministry of Agriculture, adjusting its units, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. Authors, members of the Parliament, Amil Bahar S. Mawalil, Liza M. Alamia, Suharto M. Ambuludto, and Rasul Y. Mitmog Jr. Co-authors, members of the Parliament, Baintan A. Ampatuan, Don Mustafa A. Loong, and Rasul E. Ismail.
Mr. Speaker, I think there's a typographical error. The title, Mr. Speaker, is an act reorganizing the Ministry of Agriculture and so forth. I move that, to clarify and to correct, the presentation. Anyway, Mr. Speaker, I move to BTA. The same is also a private member bill. Again, we ask members of the Parliament who wish to co-author to fill up the co-authorship request form and to submit the same to the Secretary General.
Proceed.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, we go to BTA Parliament Bill number 16. May I request, Mr. Speaker, the Secretary General to read the bill number, the title, and the authors of the said bill.
The Secretary is so directed.
BTA Parliament Bill number 16 entitled An Act Creating the Bangsamoro Commission on Higher Education, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. Authors, members of the Parliament, Rasul Y. Mitmog Jr., Amil Bahar S. Mawalil, Liza M. Alamia, and Suharto M. Ambuludto. Co-authors, members of the Parliament, Baintan A. Ampatuan, Don Mustafa A. Loong, and Rasul E. Ismail.
Mr. Speaker, members of the Parliament who wish to co-author the said bill are requested to submit the co-authorship request form and to submit the same to the Secretary General.
Proceed.
We go to number 7, Mr. Speaker, BTA Parliament Bill number 17. May I request, Mr. Speaker, the Secretary General to read the bill number, title, and authors of the said bill.
The Secretary is so directed.
BTA Parliament Bill number 17 entitled An Act Creating the Ministry of Technical Education and Skills Development, providing for its powers, structure, and for other purposes. Authors, members of the Parliament, Rasul Y. Mitmog Jr., Amil Bahar S. Mawalil, Liza M. Alamia, and Suharto M. Ambuludto. Co-authors, members of the Parliament, Baintan A. Ampatuan, Don Mustafa A. Loong, and Rasul E. Ismail.
Mr. Speaker, this is another private member bill. We request members of the Parliament who wish to co-author to submit their co-authorship request form to the Secretary General.
Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, we move to BTA Parliament Bill number 18. May I request the Secretary General, Mr. Speaker, to read the title and the bill number, the title, and the authors of the said bill.
The Secretary is so directed.
BTA Parliament Bill number 18 entitled An Act Reorganizing the Ministry of Basic, Higher, and Technical Education, adjusting its units, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. Authors, members of the Parliament, Rasul Y. Mitmog Jr., Amil Bahar S. Mawalil, Liza M. Alamia, and Suharto M. Ambuludto. Co-authors, members of the Parliament, Baintan A. Ampatuan, Don Mustafa A. Loong, and Rasul E. Ismail.
Mr. Speaker, this is a private member bill. We ask the members of the Parliament, Mr. Speaker, to submit their co-authorship request form if they wish to co-author the said measure.
Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, we go to BTA Parliament Bill number 19. May I request, Mr. Speaker, that the Secretary General read the bill number, the title, and the authors of the said bill.
The Secretary is so directed to read the bill number, the title, and the authors.
BTA Parliament Bill number 19 entitled An Act Providing for the Bangsamoro Electoral Code of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. Authors, members of the Parliament, Rasul Y. Mitmog Jr., Amil Bahar S. Mawalil, Liza M. Alamia, Suharto M. Ambuludto, Baintan A. Ampatuan, Don Mustafa A. Loong, and Rasul E. Ismail.
Mr. Speaker, this is a private member bill. may we request members of the Parliament who wish to be associated with the said measure to submit their co-authorship request form and submit the same to the Secretary General.
Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, we go to BTA Parliament Bill number 20. May I request, Mr. Speaker, that the Secretary General read the bill number, title, and the authors of said bill.
The Secretariat is so directed.
BTA Parliament Bill number 20 entitled An Act Protecting the Rights of Internally Displaced Persons of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, providing support therefore and for other purposes. Authors, Member of the Parliament Liza M. Alamia. Co-authors, Members of the Parliament Rasul Y. Mitmug Jr., Soharto M. Ambuludto, Rasul E. Ismail, Baintan A. Ampatuan, Amil Bahar S. Mawalil, and Don Mustafa A. Luong.
Mr. Speaker, this is a private member bill. We request members of the Parliament, Mr. Speaker, who wish to be associated with the bill to submit their co-authorship request form and submit the same to the Secretary General.
Proceed, proceed, the Majority Leader.
We go now, Mr. Speaker, to sub-item B, which is on resolutions, messages, memorial, and communications. Under this item, Mr. Speaker, we have proposed resolution number 04. May I request, Mr. Speaker, the Secretary General to read the resolution number, title, and authors of the said proposed resolution.
The Secretariat is so directed to read the resolution number, the title, and the authors.
Proposed resolution number 4 entitled A Resolution Calling for the Office of the Chief Minister, OCM, to designate a Bangsamoro Government Center, BGC, Administrator to regulate development and improvement of structures and to ensure coordinated management of government assets in the BGC. Author, Member of the Parliament Baintan A. Ampatuan. Co-authors, Members of the Parliament Amil Bahar S. Mawalil, Liza M. Alamia, Soharto M. Ambuludto, Rasul Y. Mitmug Jr., Don Mustafa A. Loong, and Rasul E. Ismail.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer proposed resolution number 4 to the Committee on Rules.
There is a move to refer proposed resolution number 4 to the Committee on Rules. It is duly seconded. The same is declared as approved. Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, we may now proceed to proposed resolution number 22. May I request, Mr. Speaker, the Secretary General to read the resolution number, title, and authors of the said proposal.
So, Secretary is so directed.
Proposed resolution number 22 entitled A Resolution Encouraging the Ministry of Basic, Higher, and Technical Education, MBHTE, to consider the provision of free hygiene kits, especially free sanitary napkins in all public high school, comfort rooms within the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, BARM. Author, Member of the Parliament Baintan A. Ampatuan. Co-authors, Members of the Parliament Amil Bahar S. Mawalil, Liza M. Alamia, Soharto M. Ambuludto, Rasul Y. Mitmug Jr., Don Mustafa A. Loong, and Rasul E. Ismail.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the proposed resolution to the Committee on Basic, Higher, and Technical Education.
There is a move to refer proposed resolution number 22 to the Committee on Basic, Higher, and Technical Education. This duly seconded. The same is declared as approved.
Mr. Speaker, we go to proposed resolution number 24. May I request the Secretary General to read the resolution number, title, and the authors of the said resolution.
The Secretariat is so directed.
Proposed resolution number 24 entitled A Resolution Urging the Office of the Chief Minister, OCM, in the Ministry of Basic, Higher, and Technical Education, MBSTE, to devise a mechanism that will incentivize families with at least 3 high school and or college students in order to ensure the completion of the students' schooling. Author, Member of the Parliament, Baintan A. Ampatuan. Co-authors, Members of the Parliament, Amil Bahar S. Mawalil, Liza M. Alamia, Suharto M. Ambuludto, Rasul Y. Mitmug Jr., Don Mustafa L. Ong, and Rasul E. Ismail.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the said proposed resolution to the Committee on Basic, Higher, and Technical Education.
There is a move to refer proposed resolution number 24 to the Committee on Basic, Higher, and Technical Education. This duly seconded. The same is declared as approved.
Mr. Speaker, we go to proposed resolution number 31. May I request, Mr. Speaker, the Secretary General, to read the resolution number, title, and authors of the said proposed
The
resolution.
Secretariat is so directed.
Proposed resolution number 31 entitled Resolution Requesting the Supreme Court of the Philippines for the 10 years moratorium on the application of the qualification of the Sharia judges as stipulated in the Bangsamoro Organic Law. Author, Member of the Parliament, Baileng S. Mantawil.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer proposed resolution number 31 to the Committee on Justice.
There is a move to refer proposed resolution number 31 to the Committee on Justice. And this duly seconded. Same is declared as approved.
Mr. Speaker, we go to proposed resolution number 32. May I request, Mr. Speaker, the Secretary General to read the resolution number, title, and author of the said proposal.
The Secretariat is so directed.
Proposed resolution number 32 entitled Resolution Commending the Constituents of the Newly Divided Province of Maguindanao for successful and peaceful conduct of plebiscite to divide the province of Maguindanao into Maguindanao del Norte and Maguindanao del Sur. Author, Member of the Parliament, Harun M. Abbas.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we treat this resolution as a simple resolution.
Be transferred to the business. There is a move to treat a proposed resolution number 32 as simple resolution. This duly seconded. The same is declared as approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move to open the period of interpellation. Mr. Speaker, if you will notice, some
Yes.
members are asking whether we should move it to the item on the business for the day. In our rules, new rules, Mr. Speaker, there is no business for the day. Meaning, Mr. Speaker, the intention is to immediately discuss proposed resolutions or other items in the agenda that can already be discussed immediately after the item is read.
Yes, since this is a simple resolution, and it is only a commending resolution, I think you can move for a omnibus motion, majority.
So my motion, Mr. Speaker, is to open the period of interpellation.
There is a move to open the period of interpellation. And this duly seconded. The same is declared as approved.
Mr. Speaker, MP Baintan Ampatuan wishes to be recognized.
A lady from Maguindanao, MP Baintan Patuan, is now recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At the outset, allow me to say that I'm not objecting this particular resolution, but I just want to clarify something about the resolution. May we know if the good proponent is willing to answer some clarificatory questions?
Mr. Speaker, we request MP Harun Abbas to respond to the query of MP Ampatuan on whether he is willing to answer some questions.
MP from Cotabato City in Maguindanao, MP Harun Abbas, you are now recognized.
Yes, Madam MP, Bayintan.
Baka may gusto siyang sabihin. Baka may gusto siyang...
Mr. Speaker, I know that we are now in the period of interpellation, but may I request if we can allow MP Abbas to speak and present the resolution, its merits, so that some of the questions may need not be raised if he's able to answer already the issues or the matters that MP Ampatuan might want to raise.
Well noted. MP Abbas, you may proceed now.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ba'd. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Attorney Pangalian M. Balindong, my colleagues in the Bangsamoro Transition Authority Parliament, brothers and sisters, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The extension of support and recommendation to the constituents of Maguindanao, del Norte, and Maguindanao del Sur symbolizes our appreciation to the democratic that has utmost importance for them, for their community, and for their future in the political community in which they are part of. I commend the people of Maguindanao for the successful and peaceful conduct of plebiscite last September 17, 2022, which I believe is a manifestation of their yearning to better service delivery to the people. Not long ago, this representation witnessed the grievances and dissatisfaction of the constituents of the defunct province of Sarip Kabunsuan, when the Supreme Court decided the unconstitutionality of MMA Act 2001. This is Muslim Mindanao Act 201, creating the province of Sarip Kabunsuan. Yes, creating the province of Sarip Kabunsuan. I hope that the experiences of the province of Maguindanao will be a lesson for every member of this parliament that processes in the government are sometimes complicated and messy. Sometimes, no matter how noble are the intentions and how great our efforts are, for the Bangsamoro, all of it can be outweighed by simply not following the process. As a leader, we cannot justify mere intentions and efforts, because the Bangsamoro and the government of which we are part of always wanted to see outputs. Remember, that we are not only here in this Bangsamoro Parliament for the privileges as a result of our decades of struggle. Our presence in this chamber carries a huge responsibility on the Bangsamoro, as if we are servants of the Bangsamoro people. We must always fulfill our duties in the best possible ways, inshallah. Shukran, Mr. Speaker. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Mr. Speaker, you have already recognized MP Ampatuan for the interpellation.
MP Ampatuan, you may proceed now.
Thank you very much. Before my question, my one and only question, Mr. Speaker, I would like to say that I fully appreciate the readiness of the proponent in defending his proposed resolution. Ang tanong ko lang sa iyo, kaya ba natin kino-commend yung constituencies ng newly divided province of Maguindanao ay dahil resounding yes ang kanilang ibinoto sa pag-divide ng province of Maguindanao, kaya naging successful at peaceful yung conduct ng plebiscite?
Yes, precisely, Madam Bayintan. It was peaceful, orderly voting of the constituents.
And therefore, we
For-
are recognizing
for the-
the efforts of the
yes.
constituents.
Yeah.
How about recognizing the efforts of those who played in the election in general, Mr. Speaker?
As far as the election was conducted peacefully and orderly, we also commend them.
So therefore, Mr. Speaker, I propose that in one of the whereases, we include that we also commend those involved in the conduct of the successful and peaceful election in the divide of the province of Maguindanao. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Okay.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize MP Lorena.
MP Lorena is now recognized. To be followed by MP Ali Sanki.
Simple resolution.
Thank you, Madam Blue Leader, Mr. Speaker. I would like to manifest that I strongly support, but in order to strengthen the resolution, I would just ask some clarificatory question. If my colleague, the sponsor of this resolution, is amenable to answer some few clarificatory questions.
Yes, precisely.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My first question is, in the totality of the registered voters of Maguindanao, how much percentage participated in the plebiscite? If you know.
86.93% voter turnout.
86?
Yes. And 99.27% of it voted a yes vote.
Is this voters turnout reflective of the common objective of the people in leadership of Maguindanao in their longing to divide the province of Maguindanao into two?
Yes, that is in consonance with their desire for the division of Maguindanao into Maguindanao del Norte and Maguindanao del Sur. Alhamdulillah.
At the expense of being repetitive, is the peaceful observance of the plebiscite reflective of the performance not only of the armed forces of the Philippines, the Philippine National Police, and the Commission on Elections on the ground in Maguindanao on the day of the plebiscite?
Yes, exactly. The full cooperation of both the armed forces of the Philippines and the Philippine National Police to secure the plebiscite. There was nothing, and that nothing happened. There was no shooting soever during the voting, during the plebiscite voting. Alhamdulillah.
May we request
They really did their responsibilities for the security of this plebiscite. Alhamdulillah.
Thank you.
may we request both MPs to throw their questions to the presiding officer?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Having said that, I would join the MP by intent in the most appropriate time to also include in commending those who participated in assuring that there would be peaceful plebiscite in Maguindanao on that day of the plebiscite. But lastly, is the turnout of voters reflective of the participation of the MILF and the and other revolutionary groups in Maguindanao that in the past was not present? That is why we have sometimes low turnout, if you know.
Yes, the fronts.
The fronts, but
Yes.
they also
They really did their job to vote, to cast their votes during the plebiscite.
that laid down the premise. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I would really support this subject only to the the amendment that we also include those people and groups or organizations which made possible a clean and honest plebiscite in the province of Maguindanao. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Precisely.
Thank you, Mr. Sponsor.
Jazakallah
Mr.
khair.
MP Ali Sanki to be followed by MP Babaw. MP Sanki, please. You're recognized now. Yes.
Am I now recognized?
Yes, you are recognized now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Presiding Officer.
My classmate.
Yeah, I just would like to share some thoughts about this resolution proposed by my schoolmate at MLK University. The resolution commending, kay schoolmate ko yan, the resolution commending the constituents of the newly divided province of Maguindanao for successful and peaceful conduct of this plebiscite to divide the province of Maguindanao into Maguindanao del Norte and Maguindanao del Sur. It is clear from the resolution that the proponent is commending the constituents of the newly divided province. This representation would like to be very clear about this issue. It will be recalled that there was a time that this province was already divided, and one of that province was called the Sarip Kabunsuan. But for a while, it was declared by the Supreme Court as unconstitutional because at that time the army is not empowered to create a province or even a district, congressional district. But with the coming of the BARM, it appears now that we are clothed with that authority, and of course, it still requires approval of Congress. But this body is commending some people, and that I would suggest to my schoolmate that we have to mention the people who have played a very important role in having this peaceful conduct of the dividing of Maguindanao province into two. It does not mean that because the incumbent governor is my daughter, but because she played a very important role in pursuing the dreams 20 years ago. If you will recall, there was this 9 years term of his predecessor, and even before that, it so happened that the governor happened to be all related to our family, the Ampatuans and the Mangurulato, and that it so happened that in all those years, there was that sort of political animosity between and among themselves. But now, there was this peaceful conduct of the election. It was precisely because of the present leadership of the province of Maguindanao. And if the proponent will agree, I suppose that we can mention the name of those who have played a very important role in attaining our dream for this dividing of Maguindanao into two, Del Norte and Del Sur. Will that be okay, my schoolmate? Thank you very much.
Okay, my classmate. Yeah. Classy, but
Well noted. A gentleman from Lanao del Sur and Palawan.
Thank you.
They're
Thank you
about
very much,
recognized.
Mr. Speaker.
it is commendable, classmate, to include all those LGO officers in this resolution. Yeah, we commend them. Yeah.
Mr. Speaker,
You may proceed now.
This is a minor amendment because I noticed, Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Speaker,
as presented,
Mr. Speaker, we are still in the period of interpellation.
no,
And
this is, I'm trying to introduce some sort of amendment pertaining to the title
will-
of the resolution.
Mr. Speaker, we will go to the period of amendment after the period of
Oh,
interpellation.
sorry, we are not yet in the period of amendment. But later, I'm registering my availability in the period of amendment. This is pertaining
Yes,
the
Mr. Speaker.
title of the proposed resolution. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, considering that there are no other members of the parliament who wish to interpellate, I move to close the period of interpellation.
The period of interpellation and debate is closed and terminated.
Mr. Speaker, I move to open the period of amendments.
There is a move to open the period of amendment. It is duly seconded. The period of amendment is now open.
Mr. Speaker, MP Babaw wishes to be recognized.
MP
Mr.
Babaw, you
Speaker.
are recognized now.
Mr. Speaker, this is all about the title of the resolution. Because if you're going to read the title of the resolution, medyo nakalagay dyan, resolution commending the constituents of the newly divided province of Mindanao for successful and peaceful conduct of plebiscite to divide. The word to divide, Mr. Speaker, is a future tense. In other words, hindi pa nangyayari. So I would like to propose to change this wording from to divide into dividing, because it had happened already. The plebiscite had been conducted and the constituencies of this of Maguindanao had already voted yes, as reported by the honorable gentleman from Maguindanao. It's about 99% of the constituencies have decided to support the division. So, second, I would like to support also the manifestation of MP Ampatuan and Lorena to include, maybe in the whereas clauses, the support of all the people that had worked for the successful conduct of the plebiscite. Like, for example, the Commission on Elections, the teachers, the military that have worked together in supporting this political exercise. So, I would like to suggest to my colleague here, MP Abbas from Maguindanao, if he is acceptable to my proposal to change the wording from to divide into dividing, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, okay, subject to style. Okay,
Thank you very much.
no objection. Okay.
Mr. Speaker, MP Ampatuan wishes to be recognized.
MP Ampatuan from Cotabato City, Maguindanao is now recognized.
On the title, Mr. Speaker, my proposed amendment is resolution commending the Commission on Election, the Ministry of Basic Higher and Technical Education for the teachers, quote unquote, the security sector and the constituents. Okay. Repeat. Resolution commending the COMELEC, MBST, security sector, and the local government units and the constituents. LGUs and the constituents. Then on the last whereas, whereas the conduct of plebiscite dividing the province of Maguindanao into Maguindanao del Norte and Maguindanao del Sur was successfully conducted with the resounding yes vote from its constituents. The conduct of plebiscite dividing blah 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 was successfully conducted with the resounding yes vote. Then another whereas citing the no, that's the word citing, but copy paste those subjects that are going to be commended. So whereas there is a need to acknowledge and commend, there is a need to commend, acknowledge and commend the efforts. Ano to impromptu. Acknowledge and commend the efforts of those involved in the successful conduct of the plebiscite, such namely blah 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 blah, copy paste na. Yun na siguro. That's all, Mr. Speaker. Just copy paste all those subjects above.
MP Aaron Abbas accepted the proposed amendments. In the constituents and LGUs.
And the constituents. Sama mo na yung constituents.
Mr. Speaker, may we know the response of the author, MP Abbas, on the proposed amendments?
Yes, my pleasure to accept the amendments.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. That's all. Thank you very much.
Accepted.
Mr. Speaker, considering that there are no other members of the Parliament who wish to introduce amendments, I move to close the period of amendment.
The period of amendment is now closed.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we vote on the resolution as amended for its approval.
There is a move for the approval and adoption of proposed resolution number proposed resolution number 32 subject to style. There is a move to approve and adopt proposed resolution number 32. It is duly seconded. The same is now declared as approved.
Okay.
Proceed, majority leader.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, before we proceed to item number 8, which are on the bills for second reading, Mr. Speaker, we'd like to recognize or acknowledge the presence of guests coming from the Office of the Vice Chancellor for Research, Extension, and Development of the Mindanao State University, Marawi City. Mr. Speaker.
May we request our visitor to stand up so that we can recognize.
They are composed of the Vice Chancellor for Research, Extension, and Development, Ma'am Eileen Anisha Siguro, and we have the Director of Extension, Mr. Pandao Bula, the TIC Director, Sarifa Sophia M. Ali, from the Ceramics Fab Lab Director, Aksara Gumal, and the OVCRED staff, Mr. Nabil Dadayan and Saddam Sulaiman, and Abdul Ghani Kampong, and Muhammad Hisham Haji Jamel and Norhata Gubat, Mr. Speaker.
Welcome to the Bangsamoro Transition Authority Parliament. Maraming salamat po sa pagbisita.
Mr.
Proceed now.
Speaker, may I be
Yes,
represented?
MP from Sultan Kudarat, Maguindanao, MP Attorney Shak.
With the indulgence of the majority
Bastura.
floor leader, I just like to propound some clarificatory with regard to our rules before we go to the bills on second reading. This is something in relation with the bills on second reading, because under our new rules, it says here, section 18, stages of legislation, consideration of bills and resolutions, section 2B. Second reading, a bill or resolution on second reading shall be read in full unless copies thereof have been distributed to the members. Thereafter, the bill shall be referred to the appropriate committee by the majority floor leader. I would like to know if this is a discretion of the majority floor leader on his own, or he is acting as the chair of the committee on rules, because that's not very clear. In the previous rules, the discretion to refer the particular bill to a particular committee is with the speaker. So it's very clear, it is very clear that it is the discretion of the speaker. But you know, the character of the majority floor leader is he is also the chair of the committee on rules. So they are the ones who craft the order of business. They're the ones who come out with the procedure for the conduct of the plenary. So may I know in what capacity is the majority floor leader exercising this power to refer a particular bill to a particular committee? That's just for clarification, sir.
Mr. Speaker, I think when the majority floor leader takes up the matter of a bill on second reading or even a resolution, proposed resolution, the floor leader makes a motion, and the motion is presented to the floor, presented to the speaker, and the speaker acts on the motion. So I think ultimately it is the speaker who approves the said
Referral.
motion.
So in this case, it is not that the bill shall be referred to the appropriate committee by the majority floor leader, but in fact, it is the majority floor leader that will move after the second reading of the bill is read into the floor, in the plenary, and then the sponsorship is speech is conducted. Then the majority floor leader will move to refer it to a particular committee. Is that correct? Is
Yes,
that my
Mr.
understanding?
Speaker.
So
Yes,
this particular provision needs to be clarified more, because actually I am very glad that it was clarified, because there may be some disagreements at some points in time on whether or not the proper committee was the one that was referred to. So with that motion, the plenary body, the members of parliament are given the chance to present their views whether or not that particular bill ought to go to a particular committee, especially in the case of the BTA where we have a limited number of committees. So there may be a need to create ad hoc committees, or there may be a need to create special committees. So that is very well taken. Thank you very much for that clarification.
Yes, in any case, all referral made by the majority floor leader is subject to the approval of the plenary, the BTA
And the speaker.
and the speaker, no, pagpupok niya. So we also have an agreement that if the proposed bill or resolution does not clearly have a kung anong resolution, kung anong committee siya, ay i-refer natin ito sa Committee on Rules for proper deliberations. Kung klaro masyado na ito ay sa isang committee appropriate, ay doon talaga sa committee na yun na ilalagay. So yun po yung ko natin.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
MP
MP Ampatuan
Yung
wishes to
patotoy
be
followed by
recognized.
MP
and
Paisalintan.
MP Tawi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. This is in relation to the authorship of the proposed bills and resolution. And actually, this is my second time to raise this concern because I'm bothered, Mr. Speaker. With regards to the authorship of the government of the day, you will notice in the last session, I requested to define what is the government of the day. And it looks like that all of us is part of the government of the day since we don't have any more the minority in this parliament. My question, Mr. Speaker, if we are all, if the bill is authored by the government of the day, and in this case, all of us, some of the bills I noticed that there are co-authorship, even though it's authored by the government of the day. So that means to say we're not leveled up on what government of the day really means. Second, Mr. Speaker, is that if we agree that the government of the day means all of us, and all of us are the authors of this proposed bill, that means to say the period of interpellation and debate can be terminated, Mr. Speaker, because we are all part of the authors, Mr. Speaker. So it's a clarification that needs to be answered, Mr. Speaker, so that all of us would really understand if we are going to interpellate, even though we are part of the government of the day, what will be the consideration if we are going to interpellate? Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, MPs,
Point of
members of
order.
the Parliament, before PO Marcema, if you have questions on the rules, you can throw it in the Committee on Rules meetings because this is the body that can deliberate on the proposed amendments. And the Committee on Rules can bring this matter before this plenary. Kasi kung hindi discuss natin itong rules ngayon, ay wala tayong matatapos. So yun po, kung meron pong paglilinaw o merong gustong amendahan, please bring this to the Committee on Rules meeting.
Point of order,
Yes,
Mr. Speaker.
MP Marcelo, please.
Yeah, are we now in the other matters? Can we change what has been written in the order of business without amending it? Because I believe we have somehow deviated from the order of business, and
Yes.
we should not be discussing matters that are not in the order of business.
Yes.
Unless it is in the other matters. So I move, Mr. Speaker, to allow the floor leader to continue with
Yes.
the completion of what is stated in the order of business.
Majority Floor Leader, you may proceed now, please.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. We are now with the understanding that the questions raised may be discussed in the level of the committee, specifically the Committee on Rules. So we now proceed, Mr. Speaker, on to item number 8, bills on second reading. The first bill to be discussed or put on the floor under this item is BTA Bill number 30, which is the Bangsamoro Local Governance Code. Mr. Speaker, I shall now deliver the sponsorship speech for Bill number 30 in behalf of the government of the day, as this bill is a cabinet bill.
May we
Mr.
request
Speaker.
Deputy Majority Floor Leader Attorney Raisa Jajuri to relinquish first the floor to the Deputy Majority Floor Leader Attorney Mariana Nado so that she can recognize you.
Anyway,
Mr. Speaker.
yes, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, MP. Yes.
Well,
MP.
this is just to remind everybody it's Azar time.
Yes.
We just have a break.
Considering the manifestation, Mr. Speaker, may I first move to ask for a recess to give way to the Azhar prayer.
15-minute recess. Session is suspended. Majority Floor Leader. What is the
Mr.
pleasure of the
Speaker, may I request that we recognize Minister MP Raisa H. Jajuri for her authorship speech on BTA Parliament Bill number 30 entitled An Act Providing for the Bangsamoro Local Governance Code.
MP Raisa Jajuri is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Majority Floor Leader. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Mr. Speaker, my colleagues in this honorable body, on behalf of the Cabinet, I rise to introduce BTA Parliament Bill number 30, entitled An Act Providing for the Local Governance Code of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. One of the priority legislation mandated by the Bangsamoro Organic Law. 3.5 years ago, Mr. Speaker, the Bangsamoro people ratified this law, establishing the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. The law provides for the implementation of the comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro that is intended to finally end decades of armed conflict waged in the name of the Bangsamoro's right to self-determination. With the peace agreement and the ratification of the law, the Bangsamoro struggle has now shifted from military to political struggle. This political struggle is shaped by our collective dream of building a stronger and prosperous region steered by a government reflective of the aspirations and desires of the people in the Bangsamoro. To fast-track the transition process, Mr. Speaker, and the smooth transfer of governmental powers, functions, services, and facilities from the central government to the Bangsamoro government, the Bangsamoro Transition Authority is mandated to enact essential laws that will provide for the basic structure of the Bangsamoro government and likewise the regulation of the affairs of its constituent units. One of the laws to be passed in order to facilitate this, Mr. Speaker, is the Local Governance Code of the Bangsamoro. The Bangsamoro Local Governance Code shall operationalize the mandate of Section 10, Article 6 of the Bangsamoro Organic Law that says the authority of the Bangsamoro government to regulate the affairs of its constituent local government units shall be guaranteed in accordance with this organic law and a Bangsamoro Local Government Code to be enacted by the Parliament. The privileges already enjoyed by the local government units under RA 7160, otherwise known as the Local Government Code of 1991 as amended, and other existing laws shall not be diminished. Let me now go to certain portions and the highlights of the proposed law, Mr. Speaker. Title of the code. One might be wondering why the proposed title is Bangsamoro Local Governance Code instead of Bangsamoro Local Government Code. The government of the day intentionally proposed governance instead of government to reflect the Bangsamoro community's principles and values on participatory and inclusive governance. It is proposed in recognition of the Bangsamoro community's culture and traditions on how they shape and influence their development. While the formal government structure will still be playing the lead role, the other pillars of the community, such as traditional leaders, business leaders, religious leaders, women, and the local citizenry in general, shall be actively involved in decision-making processes, especially those that affect their community. This is also consistent with our thrust of instituting moral governance, characterized by strong emphasis on the principles of taqwa, which is God-centeredness, maslaha, which is common good, wasatiya, excellence, shura, consensus building, and adala, justness. What are the significant changes in the proposed changes in the current local government code? My colleagues, Mr. Speaker, I'm inviting your attention to the significant changes and innovations we are proposing by way of the Bangsamoro Local Governance Code based on the experience in the implementation of both Muslim Mindanao Autonomy Act number 25 or the ARMM's Local Government Code and RA 7160, otherwise known as the Local Government Code of 1991, enacted by the Philippine Congress. For instance, the Ministry of Labor and the Interior and Local Government is expected to provide comprehensive technical assistance to local government units and officers. The current laws that I just mentioned set the ability to read and write as minimum educational qualifications for elected local officials. We think this can be changed towards a standard that will ensure that the local officials are at a trainable level. A higher education qualification shall also presumably raise the standard of performance of local officials and of local government units. On the anti-dynasty provision that we have introduced in the proposed code, we are aware of the mixed reaction on the matter. As all of us should know, Section 26, Article 2 of the 1987 Constitution provides for the prohibition against political dynasties. However, up until today, Congress could only muster an anti-dynasty provision that covers the sangguniang kabataan only. In our proposed law, there is a provision to regulate community conspiracy in the election of the same family members in the same local government levels. The intent is to operationalize the principle of shura or consensus building and better representation of important stakeholders in the local government level. During the defunct ARMM, there were also officials serving in the communities outside the region who resigned before their term ended and transferred to the ARMM to run for seats thereat. This practice defeats the intention of allowing the community to chart its own development directions because of their knowledge of the unique context and peculiar need of their communities. With this, we introduced restrictions that those who seek local elected posts in the Bangsamoro must have 3 years residency in the locality and should not be an elected official in local government units outside the region during those 3 years of residency requirement. To improve the critical services of barangays as frontliners in the delivery of public goods and services, we also included a proposal to standardize the salaries of elected and appointed barangay officials. EO 332, series of 1996, provides for salary grades for elected and appointed barangay officials. For barangay chair, the salary is set at salary grade 14, while barangay kagawads, secretary, and treasurer shall have salary grade 10. The executive order is applicable only to the bigger barangays whose internal revenue allotment and local income are enough to implement the order. For the 2,590 barangays in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region, we propose to implement the same salary grades mandated by the executive order, but this time through the Bangsamoro Local Governance Code. But considering that the revenue source of these barangays may not be sufficient, we propose for the Bangsamoro government to provide augmentation in order to standardize salaries of all barangay elected and appointed officials. Said augmentation shall be provided until these barangays have reached fiscal sufficiency. Now we go to the matter of the 63 barangays comprising the special geographic area that are previously part of the province of North Cotabato. Based on the 2020 census of population, 6 of the 8 cluster barangays are already qualified to be created into distinct and regular municipalities, as they have met the minimum criteria set forth in the local government code. However, their creation into a distinct and regular province may not happen as they fail to meet some of the criteria. This means that they will remain to be a special province or area. To address this unique challenge without depriving them of the services devolved to a province, we propose to expand the powers and functions granted to the Special Geographic Area Development Authority or SGADA created by the Bangsamoro Administrative Code. It is proposed in the Bangsamoro Local Governance Code that the SGADA shall perform functions normally exercised by a regular province. There is likewise a need to provide clear and unambiguous assignment of functions across the different levels of local governments. Research on the matter of local government functions and structures shows that there is an overlapping of functions, duplication of mandates, and conflicting policies which affect the accountability of officials and the local government units themselves and the smooth implementation of programs. Aside from the current local government codes, there are other laws that direct local government units to create local offices, which duplicate field offices of the regional ministries. There is also an ambiguous delineation of functions and services assigned to each government level. This could be attributed to conflicting policies, mismatch of functional assignments, and unfunded devolved services. This proposed Bangsamoro Local Governance Code attempts to address these issues and challenges by devolving functions, services, and facilities to our constituent local government units, guided by the principles of subsidiarity, economy of scales, redistribution of roles, equity, spillover effects, and technical and financial capacities. The devolution process shall be done in a gradual manner in the next 5 years. The idea is to make sure that the dual transitions, that is from the power transfer from the national or central government to the Bangsamoro government, and the devolution from the Bangsamoro government to local government units shall proceed with minimal impact to the service delivery. The Bangsamoro Local Government Code also attempts to address the issue of exacting accountability under the administrative power hierarchy, while we maintain the provisions for the exercise of power of supervision of the Chief Minister directly over provinces and highly urbanized cities, and through the provinces in the case of municipalities, and through the city and municipality in the case of barangays. We included concurrent jurisdiction of the Bangsamoro government over administrative complaints against local government officials. The reason here is to avoid inaction of higher government levels to complaints against local government officials of their component local government unit due to party affiliations and other reasons. There are other features of the bill, Mr. Speaker, which will be discussed, dissected, and debated upon at the proper time. But now, Mr. Speaker, I ask our colleagues to be united in our effort to have a local governance law in a region and to pass this bill under consideration. The BTA Parliament is in a unique position in history, not only of the Bangsamoro struggle, but also in the history of the Philippines, as we are able to introduce innovative processes, standards, structures, and mechanisms that are meant to improve governance for the betterment of our people and of our nation. I personally implore that we have an open mind in our consideration of these novel ideas and have a healthy debate that should lead us to a piece of legislation that will redound to a peaceful and progressive Bangsamoro. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, dear colleagues, for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
What is the pleasure of the Deputy Majority Floor Leader?
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer Parliament Bill number 30 to the Committee on Local Government.
There is a move to refer Parliament Bill number 30 to the local government. It's duly seconded. The same is declared as approved.
Mr.
Maybe-
Speaker, may I yield the floor to the Majority Leader?
Deputy Majority Floor Leader MP Attorney Rice, the jury is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are now on Parliament Bill number 41, also up for second reading. May I request, Mr. Speaker, that we recognize Minister MP Ubayda Pakasem to deliver the authorship speech in behalf of the Cabinet, as this is also a Cabinet bill.
MP Attorney Ubayda Pakasem from Mindanao, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This will not be as lengthy as yesterday's. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah. Wassalawat wassalamu ala rasulillah amma ba'd. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Mr. Speaker, esteemed colleagues of this august body, I rise as one of the authors of BTA Bill number 41. Under Section 3, Article 5 of the Organic Law, the Bangsamoro government shall exercise all powers for the promotion of general welfare. Within its territorial jurisdiction, the Bangsamoro government shall ensure and support, among many other things, improvement of public morals, enhancement of economic prosperity, and promotion of social justice. Mr. Speaker, promotion of general welfare entails promotion of the economic condition, social welfare, and material progress of the people in the community. In the context of labor and employment, social justice ensures that those who have less in life must have more in law. The aim of social justice is to give more rights and protection to the workers through laws, rules, and regulations. These concepts of general welfare and social justice are very apt to serve as our guiding principles in addressing the issue with respect to the payment of salaries of the Bangsamoro workers implementing nationally funded program within the autonomous region. Mr. Speaker, there are several nationally funded programs implemented within the region. We are thankful to the national government for continuously funding the implementation of these programs in the region. However, Mr. Speaker, we cannot close our eyes to recognize the systematic challenges our fellow Bangsamoro are facing with respect to the payment of their salaries. Prevalent in social media are the discreet cries for help of our hardworking program implementers, field workers, frontliners. These are the same people who tirelessly work to bring national programs down to the community level, closer in direct to the beneficiaries, the people. Unfortunately, these hardworking people would have to wait for a long period before they get paid for the work they already rendered. And we are not talking about days or weeks when we talk about the delay in the payment of their salaries. Mr. Speaker, we are talking about delays which involves several months. While it may be disturbing, I encourage everyone to imagine the situation of our fellow Bangsamoro workers. Let us follow the everyday plight of one program implementer. This program implementer goes to field every single day to implement the national programs of the government for the benefit of his or her fellow Bangsamoro people. The program implementer must take the long commute to reach the community level he or she is assigned to. It serves as his or her workplace well lit by the sun and ventilated as nature wills. In some days, doing the everyday work is made more challenging by rains. The program implementer must walk from one house to another so that interviews may be done, profiles will be made, and services will be delivered. Like the work during the day is not enough, at night, the program implementer opens his personal computers to encode all the data gathered during the day and summarize them in their reports. Every single day, the program implementer spends money for food and other needs for subsistence. All these personal needs for them to be good public servants, they would have to source from the pay they get from their jobs. But what happens when payment of salaries is delayed because of delays caused by a system? This system is one which calls for laborious consolidation of reports coming from the different parts of our archipelagic region, tedious periodic liquidation of expenditures and payouts, multi-level review and approval of reports, documents, and contracts, all of which are required before the funds from which the payment of their salaries will be sourced is downloaded from the national office to the Bangsamoro regional office. While we understand that the offices concerned do their best to expedite the process, it is a fact, Mr. Speaker, that the lead time is dictated by the requirements of the laws, rules, and regulation, ensuring that the disbursements have gone through the regular processes. How worse, Mr. Speaker, can the situation if this program implementer is among the breadwinners of the family? How worse can the situation be if this program implementer has a family of his or her own, which completely depends on him or her for provision of food, shelter, education, and vital needs for subsistence? How worse can the situation be if this program implementer has a sick member of the family to provide for regularly or worse, urgently needed medications? Can hungry stomachs wait? Can education of the children be set aside? Can sick wait further? Definitely, Mr. Speaker, the answers are in the negative. As such, our fellow Bangsamoro workers resort to personal loans or salary loans, which cause them additional financial burden. Had they been paid timely, no additional financial burden may have been incurred. These delays in payment of salaries adversely affect the human dignity of our fellow Bangsamoro workers. Instead of proudly paying for their families' provisions coming from their own income, they would have to explain their sorrowful circumstances first to their creditors to justify their need to borrow so that they would have money to buy their family's necessities. And in the time they would have received their income, their own money would just be slipping through their fingers and onto the palms of their creditors, accompanied by apologies for the long period of waiting before they could be paid. These delays in payment of salaries adversely affect the morale of these Bangsamoro workers. It adversely affects their dedication, enthusiasm, motivation, and even sincerity in the public service. The recognition, Mr. Speaker, of this huge problem is the beginning of a great solution. This is a very good opportunity for us in this parliament to exercise our power to promote the general welfare and uphold social justice in the case of these Bangsamoro workers by way of crafting a relevant legislation. The proposed bill entitled An Act Establishing a Buffer Fund to Defray the Cost for the Timely Payment of Salaries and Other Remuneration of nationally funded programs deployed in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao under the supervision of its ministers and offices, providing funds therefore and for other purposes will help effectively address the issues at hand. The bill, Mr. Speaker, aims for the establishment of the Bangsamoro Buffer Fund amounting to 500 million to defray timely payment of salaries in other remuneration of nationally funded workers or personnel directly supervised by the bar ministries and offices. The fund shall be utilized to offset the effects of delay in the transfer or downloading of funds for the payment of salaries and other remuneration of the concerned workers or personnel by appropriate national government agencies. By its nature, it shall serve as a revolving fund to be replenished by the funds coming from the national government. The establishment of this fund will in no way contravene Section 13, Article 6 of the Organic Law, which states that the national programs and projects shall continue to be funded by the national government. Eventually, when there is no more need to maintain this Bangsamoro Buffer Fund, this shall be reverted back to our treasury. Mr. Speaker, the establishment of this fund must or just means that we are cognizant of the issues concerning the Bangsamoro workers, are responsive to the needs of our constituents, and are ready to move our hand to tip the scales of justice in favor of those who experience social injustice. In this endeavor, I humbly call upon all of you, my esteemed colleagues, to join us in this resolve in support the passage of this bill for the general welfare of a certain sector, the Bangsamoro workers. The passage of this bill will have a multiplier effect of ensuring that all nationally funded programs are effectively maintained within the region because of the hard work of the motivated and dignified Bangsamoro workers who are enjoying social justice and their public service. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalam, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to refer Parliament Bill number 41 to the Committee on Finance and Budget and Management.
There is a move to refer BTA Parliament Bill 41 to the Committee on Finance, Budget and Management that is duly seconded. The same is declared as approved. Majority Floor Leader.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, we amended the order of business earlier. And we now go to item number 10, which is unfinished business. We inserted the matter of BTA Parliament Bill number 29. An authorship speech is scheduled to be delivered, and this will be presented to us by MP and Minister Paisalin Tago. This is on the matter of the electoral code.
Mr.
Mr.
Speaker,
Speaker, I move that we recognize MP Tago for this purpose.
Before we recognize MP Tago, MP Paisali Tago from Lano del Sur is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I will deliver the sponsorship or the authorship speech by authority coming from the Senior Minister of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao as part of the cabinet of the government of today. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. With deepest respect and courtesy to the Honorable Chief Minister Haud Balawag Ibrahim, to the Honorable Speaker, Attorney Pangalian Imbalindong, to the Deputy Speakers, to the Majority Floor Leader, Attorney Shia Eliab B. Dumama Alba, as well as to the Deputy Majority Floor Leaders, and to all members of this august body. Again, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Mr. Speaker, the Bangsamoro Transition Authority is mandated to enact one of the priority legislation as embodied in our Bangsamoro Organic Law. This is the Bangsamoro Electoral Code, in which I term it as the Bangsamoro Electoral Reform Code. This code will embody the electoral system and processes. We shall be consistent with the national laws, allow democratic participation, encourage the formation of genuinely principled political parties, and ensure accountability. Mr. Speaker, members of this august body, sa kauna-unang pagkakataon mula itayo ang Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, ngayon ay BARM, ngayon lang po tayo magkakaroon ng Bangsamoro Electoral Code na naayon sa ating kultura, naayon sa ating tradisyon, naayon sa ating practices. Mr. Speaker, before going further, I would like to extend my sincere and utmost gratitude to the individuals who ran the drafting of BTA Parliament Bill number 29, entitled an act providing for the Bangsamoro Electoral or Electoral Reform Code of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, to the honorable ministers, namely Attorney Nagib Sinarimbo, who acted as the Vice Chairperson of the Cabinet Committee on Electoral Code, and to the following members: Minister Muager Iqbal, Minister Engineer Aida M. Silungan, Minister Husin P. Munoz, former Minister of PMUTC, my predecessor, Minister Dixon Hermoso, former Minister of Mole, Minister Romeo Sima, and former Deputy Minister of Human Settlements and Development, Attorney Yulorina, my seatmate in this august body. Mr. Speaker, in drafting the Bangsamoro Electoral Code, we started from a mere scratch of paper. In doing so, we initiate the recruitment of policy researchers. All are expert election lawyers from academic sector. Intensive research is required considering the unique attributes of the newly created parliamentary government of the Bangsamoro region. We believe, Mr. Speaker, that the task requires unswerving research and deep knowledge, especially on the legal parameters as well as far as the bill at hand is concerned. The researchers consider the four corner areas of the basic and paramount law of the land, the 1987 Constitution,
as well as the existing national election laws and outside jurisdictions having parliamentary form of government. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, with this, I would like to grab the opportunity to extend my utmost appreciation to the policy researchers, namely former Comelec Commissioner Attorney Elias Yusuf, Dean of the MSU MSU System College of Law, Attorney Nur Habib bin Saud Barodi, Attorney Badruddin Magindra, and Attorney Momina Shirin Dumadalag Abdullah, who have shared their knowledge and experience as election lawyers and academicians. Mr. Speaker, after policy research and roundtable discussions thereof, we proceeded to the drafting of the code. We started from the identified contentious issues before ensuing on the less contentious issues. Again, Mr. Speaker, we believe that the bill number 229 is a reflection of the peculiar elections in the Bangsamoro region due to the unique feature or unique setup in the Bang. This necessitated several innovations which must be introduced in the bill. Mr. Speaker, although the code should be consistent with national laws or the Constitution, we likewise maintain that the BARM enjoys an autonomous status. Thus, we take into consideration the parliamentary form of government of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. Mr. Speaker, I would like to enumerate to this august chamber some of the salient features of the Bangsamoro Electoral Code, such as number one, or first, the new structure of the Bangsamoro Electoral Office with proposed powers to be delegated to this office because we believe that we in the ground is the best person to identify what necessitates to us and how we could address those issues. Part of the expansion of this office as envisioned in the bill is the creation of the 6 bureaus. We have the Party Representation Bureaus, the Constituency Party Representation Bureau, the Election Assessor Bureau, the Provincial Operations Bureau, National and Local Bureau, and the Administration and Finance Bureau. Second, Mr. Speaker, the provision creating the Bangsamoro Parliament Electoral Tribunal or the BPET, where cases involving members of Parliament be within the jurisdiction of the tribunal. The idea was inspired by the existence of the 3 electoral tribunals under the 1987 Constitution, such as the Presidential Electoral Tribunal, the Senate Electoral Tribunal, and the House of Representatives Electoral Tribunal. Third, Mr. Speaker, the requirement in establishing a genuinely principled political parties. Fourth, closed list vis-a-vis a open list system on nomination in political party, introducing women representation wherein 10% of the nominees in political party shall preferably be women. Lakas ng mga kababaihan. Fifth, the BARM Political Party Subsidy Fund. Mr. Speaker, this is just some of the salient features introduced in the proposed bill number 29. Mr. Speaker, with this new peculiar structure projected in the bill, you may have already visualized how the elections in the Parliament be operationalized in the first regular elections of the Bangsamoro Parliament. But again, Mr. Speaker, this is still subject for consideration of this august body because I believe that there is still a room for enhancement as far as this bill is concerned. Mr. Speaker, the Bangsamoro government is committed to His Excellency President Ferdinand Bongbong Romualdez Marcos Jr. to immediately pass this bill. Thus, this representation is standing before this august body or august chamber to plead for support in fast-tracking the passage of this bill. But I have least worry on the immediate passage of this bill, Mr. Speaker, because we are now working as united BTA, working for long-lasting and sustainable peace and development in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. Mr. Speaker, before I conclude my speech, I would like to express my greatest appreciation and recognition to the valuable participation, dedication, and passion of the lawyers in drafting the code, namely Attorney Daud Kalala, Attorney Mabandas Diron Jr., Dean of the MSU System College of Law, Attorney Norhabib Binsod Isbarodi, and Attorney Nasiba Daagan. Mr. Speaker, at the end of this speech, I would like to express that in the midst of COVID-19 pandemic, drafting of the bill really brought to us in an extreme challenging situation. However, we surpassed that challenges because we are steadfast in producing a novel, refined, innovative, relevant, and responsive Bangsamoro Electoral Code that will bring electoral reform in the Bangsamoro Parliament, reflecting the true essence of parliamentarism. Ako po ay nakukausap sa inyo na sana po ay ipasa kagad ang Bangsamoro Electoral Code. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.
Mr. Speaker, may
Yes.
I be recognized?
Yes.
With due respect to the
Isa-
majority floor leader, of course.
Mr. Speaker, I have not made any motion yet.
Yes.
May I be allowed to make a motion?
Before that, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to just make a manifestation observation before the majority floor leader makes her a motion. This might be for the consideration also of the August body. First of all, we don't have a committee on electoral reforms and suffrage. So that was one of the concerns that I was talking to other members of parliament. And the Committee on Rules is authorized actually to create a committee on electoral reforms and suffrage. So I was looking through the different ministries because we have limited ministries. Of course, we have the Committee on Rules as like the mother committee, but we also have the Committee on Amendments, Revisions and Codification of Laws. So this is just an observation. I'm not making any motion. I leave it up to the majority floor leader, but that's one of the observations that I'd like to put on the floor before we even make the motion, before the majority floor leader even makes her motion. Then the other observation I would like to put on the floor is that I was talking to Speaker Balindong a couple of days ago, and he brought to light the issue of the electoral code not having districts or redistricting. I know that MP Bayentan already filed her bill to have districts, but I don't know if I heard the speaker correctly, but he also said he also filed a bill creating a district for his own town in Malabang. But in any case, I just like to make that manifestation that it's cluster of municipalities. So the point of the speaker, Balindong, is that the bill, the electoral code is not yet complete. Of course, that can be tackled at the committee level. That's no problem. So that's just one observation. The third observation I have, and these are all interrelated so that we have a more comprehensive understanding of the electoral code. The third observation I have is that while we have a special geographic area, the special geographic area with 63 barangays do not have a municipality. When we create a district, we need municipalities that will be represented by that district. And that district will have its own member of parliament elected. So these are the predicates that we need to look into even before completing the electoral code. Of course, what I'm saying, all of this can be tackled at the committee level. I just want to make this manifestation for the elucidation of the body, so that it's not yet complete. While we have the electoral code, we need these predicates. We need this to be laid down so that everybody understands that while we are given the time until the end of the year or the first quarter by the chief minister, there are other things that we need to do. Like, for example, we could file already the bills creating the municipalities for the 63 barangays so that if we will have the incorporation of the redistricting into the bill for the electoral code, then it's ready. But of course, it's up to the body. It really depends on the body. they want to incorporate a redistricting bill in the electoral code. That was just my conversation with Speaker Balindong. There might be a different decision at the end of the day by the committee. So that's all I'm trying to lay on the table. It's up to you if you want to debate it. But for me, I feel it's my duty, obligation, because this is a long time coming. The electoral code became a subject of a lot of maybe sabihin na natin sama ng loob during the extension, no? Kasi people were waiting for it for a long time, and there were recriminations even. So this is our chance. I really commend the government of the day for reaching out. And when I heard and read in the news that this will be the first bill that they will pass and that they are in a hurry to do it, I was overjoyed because all those recriminations, wala na yun, water under the bridge. This is a new BTA. So with that, I commend the body. I commend sila Bapasami, our senior minister, MP Sami Makakwa. He is not here, but for his efforts in finishing this electoral code. Thank you very much.
The manifestation of MP Shak Mastura is well noted, and this can be discussed and tackled in the Committee on Rules for further discussion and deliberation. The true speaker is recognized. The original speaker is recognized.
The speaker, to put it simply, I just want to ask the statement regarding my supposed vouching for a one district, parliamentary district for Malabang be stricken from the records. That is not possible because under the BUL, there is a requirement as to the population. I merely mentioned to my pamangkin that as far as the four municipalities in the coastal towns are concerned, they are contiguous and it complies with the requirement for a population of 100,000 or more. But I was not actually vouching for a one parliamentary district for my municipality, so I move that it be stricken from the record, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, the Secretariat is directed to strike out of the record the statement regarding the parliamentary district of the municipality of Malabang. Majority Pro Leader.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I think it is now the time to refer the matter to a committee, and I move that we refer this bill to the Committee on Rules, Mr. Speaker.
There is a move to repair Parliament Bill number 21 to the Committee on Rules. It is duly seconded.
Second.
Majority Pro Leader.
There being no other items to be tackled by the Parliament, I move for the adjournment, Mr. Speaker.
Session adjourned until tomorrow at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.